Hey everyone, it's Gabe. Hold on. Hello? Okay, that's a lot better. I was getting audio feedback. Hi everyone, this is Gabe. I know you're probably still tuning in. That's fantastic. We won't be beginning until 2:05, and you'll probably hear me say that a couple more times. Just to let you know, you still have a couple minutes to get on board, get your coffee, get your water, continue your day by day. We will be beginning the webinar or at 2:05. I sent a little chat so you can see that. You should be able to hear my voice if you called in. I'm not checking if everybody called in. I know eventually we'll all be here. Thank you for joining, and anybody who has just joined us, we will begin around 2:05. So just to let you know, we'll begin around 2:05. All right. Hi, everyone who may have joined us. It's 2 o'clock somewhere. um, Eventually, it'll be 2:05. We'll be beginning at 2:05. I still see the numbers going up. People are still attending. Um, I like to give everybody extra time. Trust me, sometimes I enter in the wrong number, access code number, and then I got to redo it. So I like to get everybody extra time. We'll begin in a couple minutes for the webinar, and you should see that on your. I sent a chat that's letting you know you should be able to hear me. If you're having any connection problems or hear me or visuals or something, please like hang up and call again. That usually helps. On your screen, you should be seeing the webinar agenda. Hopefully, I don't start answering a Skype message or something, but I am sharing the webinar agenda for keyword billing. Take a look at it. It kind of helps you get an idea of what route and direction we're going. It helps us keep on path. Once again, we'll be beginning in a couple minutes at 2:05. My watch says 2:01. My phone says 2:01. My computer says 2:01. We'll be beginning soon. For anyone that just joined us, we'll be beginning in a couple minutes at 2:05. Um, for anyone that just joined us, we'll be beginning at 2:05. I'm going to get a recording of that. And you can take a look at your screen, help keep on track of what we're going to talk about. We'll be beginning shortly, very soon here. For anyone just joining us, we will be beginning soon. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Um, I like to begin at 2:05. Basically, that's coming right around the corner, so we can slowly jump into things now. Everyone should be able to hear me. If you're having problems hearing me or complications, I suggest you hang up and call back. That usually helps. Also, visuals, I suggest you disconnect, like close it down, and reconnect with the link provided when you register. Um, we'll slowly warm up and go into things. As you can see on your screen, you have the webinar agenda, and obviously I can't fit everything we're talking about in the little spots there. So it just helps us stay on track, what to look for, what's coming around the corner. So what we're gonna talk about, stay on track. When is there a Q&A and things like that. So as we're slowly getting to things, I'm going to go ahead and break down objective number one. We're going to talk about the webinar itself, just so any newcomers or things like that are on board. They understand how it works. As you can see on your screen, I sent a chat. I don't know if I need to resend it, but that's one good way how to communicate with me. Um, Everybody's phone should have been on mute. It might not be on mute. You might be able to mute yourself. I see a lot of, okay. You might be able to mute yourself, but I like to keep everyone on mute because trust me, if I kept all the microphones open, you would hear so much background noise, and it's all good. I love dogs and I love the sound of a barking dog, but it gets difficult for everyone else to hear, and then other people have a connection right next to them. We get feedback, audio like feedback, just white noise, right? Or just dispatchers, and we all know how them dispatchers get down, and we might hear them in the background, etc. I'm going to keep it calm, cool here. So everybody's on mute. So if you have any questions, um, please, there's somewhere on your screen you're allowed to raise your hand. I think that should be here. If you can't raise your hand, that's fine. If you do raise your hand, I see somebody has, so we can totally address, say, hey, what's going on? What I like to get to is questions. There's an area on your screen where it says questions, and that's a good place to type your question. We will have time for questions, especially at objective four. And throughout each objective, not to say I'll go fast, but at the end of the day, we only have 55 minutes here. Um, so there are areas for questions. I still encourage people to ask their questions. Um, and I want to just be blunt and honest with you. I am not know all or see all. So if I do not understand your question or just something I flat out can't answer, I will ask you to email it directly to me or the training department at evansdelivery.com. You're probably going to hear me say that more. And the reason why is that way I can get it to somebody who can answer that. Just period, right? Just trying to be helpful and honest as possible, and open up a good line of communication for all of us. And that's one of the goals here. We're gonna run some scenarios, okay? Um, as you can clearly see on objective two, we're gonna talk about different scenarios and entering in these billing keywords. I know it's called keyword billing, but billing keywords. Um, I like to focus on miscellaneous keywords. When's the right time to use them? What's it even there for? I like to focus on overweight too. I'll focus on anything you want me to focus on, but I want to make sure I highlight these too, right? Overweight, like overweight citations. I want to talk about them. There's times where an agent pays for an overweight themselves, and how does that work? Or if an agent or a driver pays, how does that work? Or if corporate pays, and that's what we aim for, to get billed ourselves. But we understand that there's different all types of scenarios. And then I want to also talk about daily chassis charges, whether it's a MERS charge or a split or something like that. I want to get into that. Not too deep, right? Like I said, we'll have questions, but don't if you bombard me with questions, then obviously we'll just answer them via email, unfortunately, after the fact. I like to keep questions pretty simple. Sometimes there's been instances where they've been very intuitive and detailed, and it's like, all right, I'm going to have to reread this and I'll get back to you. Just is what it is. Next is the main course. As you can see, we're going to talk about commissions, how commissions work. What if you use the wrong line item, the wrong billing keyword? Now your commission is negative, or it's just not what you were expecting. So I like to include some do's and don'ts into that scenario. And you see there, there's the desserts. I like to really, that's kind of like, that's all about you and all about the agent. I want to pick your brain. I want to talk about a couple scenarios that you might additionally have. Um, what's a webinar without the audience involved? I really want to engage everyone here. Um, that's that. And I have a fifth objective, and that's really called the check, right? After your main course meal, you get the soup, you get the appetizer, your main course and dessert. Then there's the check. And I couldn't fit the check on there. It has its own page, et cetera, et cetera. So let's jump in. I'm glad I just talked about that. Everybody understands where we're going. So let's jump in here. What I like to do is bring up the billing screen, and just so I can focus here, bring up the billing screen, talk about the billing keywords, where they're at, what we should be expecting, um, and possibly bring up some scenarios. So I want to just bring up miscellaneous, overweight, and DCC. So bear with me here as I get everything in order. I think I had to hit escape and bring up the billing screen. So you should be seeing what I see. Let me just make sure you see what I see. All right, everybody knows the agent portal. I'm going to go bring up the billing screen. I should have probably actually brought up an existing order. That might be the best case here. So bear with me here. I'm just going to bring up an existing order that I did training with an agent today. Uh, it's hard to type 0220 2020. I didn't see myself doing that until I actually did it. All right. I just want to see the orders we did today. And there we go right here. I just want to bring up an example order for everyone. We're going to scroll down to the billing keywords. That is under the financial information in the customer charges there on the left. What you see on your screen is just a simple example. The way I logged in, I realized some things may be different from what you see. You may see other keywords that may or may not apply to your terminal, and so therefore you guys may not even see them. But let's talk about these keywords. And I know you may already know what's up. You already may, yeah, Gabe. I clearly know freight charges is for the line haul, but this is for everyone. And it's as I was once taught, it's not good to assume. Maybe somebody knows what freight charges is, but maybe somebody else doesn't and doesn't want to be embarrassed to ask. To avoid any of that, and from a teacher's perspective, we'll mention it, period. So let's just break these down here. Customer charges here, freight charges. That's the line haul. I'm going to name some things you may or may not agree, but that's the line haul. That's the dray move. That's a part of the truck hauling the freight. Oh my goodness, it's just so many different other names. And that's where we're focusing right now here on the left side. Fuel surcharge, period. What's the fuel? You might have not known that you have the ability. It's funny that this is turned on. You might have not known you had the ability to enter in a quantity and rate for the fuel. It's unusual for people to have that turned on, but it is there. It is available to have a quantity and rate field for the fuel if you needed it, if it was necessary. Usually it's not, but if it was necessary. Here is daily chassis charge, and that's exactly what this is. I'm going to use the word normal. This is your normal chassis from a rental pool, so a rental chassis, right? where you bill the customer for the chassis you're renting. I'm going to keep that basic. This is not the location if you own the chassis. Pause. This is not the location if your driver owns the owner owns the track the owner of the tractor owns the chassis. It's a thing. Drivers own chassis sometimes. This is not where you enter it in. This is where you enter the pool, a rental. You'll see me kind of clearing up other objectives. Meanwhile, like that's part of the do's and the don'ts. Just is what it is. But let's talk about overtime unloading. This is detention. And a lot of people, Gabe, why is there overtime unloading and loading? It's all about EDI in that case. Some customers want a detention invoice sent as a DTU. DTU is unloading. That means a potential delivery. And overtime loading is a detention, a DTL for loading. That's a potential pickup. That's why there's two different ones. It was a whole EDI thing, and we couldn't do one or the other. So this is, for now, this is what's currently there. This is detention. If you want to bill for detention, let's say the detention was 2 hours at a rate of $75. I add the number 2 for the 2 hours of the quantity at the rate of $75 and automatically totals $150. And quite honestly, if it's not EDI related, it doesn't matter which one you put them in. Okay? Got a little sidetracked there. Stacy Boston came by. She said something and totally threw me off there. EDI matters where you put the detention charge in there, but other than that, this is detention. There's other ways to bill for detention, but this is how you do it. If you ask questions about detention time, I'm going to mention it's in our face. Let's talk about it. What is this detention time? You can click on this question mark to help you understand it. Basically, it's when you perform two different statuses, whether it's through e-rigs or on the dispatch grid. It will notify the potential detention times right up front on the billing screen so you know if billing for detention is required. What am I telling you? In this case, we're talking about delivery. So when they arrived at the delivery location, they were considered unloading. When they left the delivery location, departed delivery, that'll identify how long they've been there from the in and the out. And with those two performed statuses, when you got there, when you left, it'll automatically tell you how many hours, and they'd even tell you if it's over the, some are standard 2 hours, some are more, etc. I don't know how it all works, but that's the basis of how it works. Period. So that's exactly what that's there for. You don't enter the money in here. You don't go in here and put the money. Actually, you can't even enter anything in there. So that's good to know. And that's detention. Next is stop-off charges for your stop-offs. But I want to jump into add miscellaneous charges. So I'm just going to go ahead, click on add miscellaneous charge. This allows you to add other accessorial, other billing keywords. I want to make sure I focus on billing keywords here. So I'm going to hit this drop down. You're going to see a whole bunch. Some of these, as an agent, let me try to zoom in here, everyone. Hold on. Some of these, as an agent, you may not even see. And if you're expecting to see them, please contact your recruiter or a member of onboarding to help identify which ones you need or which ones you can use. You can also contact any member of the training department, which ones you need, which ones you can use. But I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, sometimes you only need like 4 or 5 because since you have the ability to rename them, you can, it's all about the commission behind the scenes. I had an email from somebody who was unable to connect, and unfortunately, I think it might be the computer. Sorry out there, Sam. I'm recording this webinar. I will share it with you if you can hear me. Okay. Scrolling down, Let me get back to our keywords. We have miscellaneous. Here's another daily chassis charge. I'm trying to highlight it. You should see it. Here's another daily chassis charge. Um, you know what? I'm gonna answer a question. Right? I think it might be a good time to answer some questions. I can't leave this up. Every time I click out of here, this screen leaves. I think it might be a good time to answer some questions as I realize I didn't do the Q&A for the first part, and we can do some Q&A for the second part. So I'm just going to go through these couple, and then we're going to answer some questions. So please feel free, if you have any questions now, to throw them in there. Let me talk about these other charges, and then we're going to answer some questions. So go ahead, feel free to throw them in there. I'm going to just start right off the top. We have miscellaneous. We have daily chassis charge here. That's another area. Uh, period. Take it how you want it. There's one area here, daily chassis charge, and there's this area. How chassis charge works, oh my goodness, oh, there it goes. I actually selected it. I didn't realize I selected it. How chassis charge works, Evans takes it from a daily amount. So let's just say Evans takes $25. I wish I can, let me see if I can add a sticky note. Hold on one second. I hit a plus sign, and I'm gonna add it a sticky note. Here we go. Um, so 26 a day slash day, $26 a day, and we build for 3 days at 30 days at a rate of $30, right? And we wish that we can bill for that much, but I'm going to say 3 days at a rate of $30. That's $90, and Evans delivery gets $26. Um, bear with me here. I got to go back to that. Go back to this. So how does that even calculate? And that's part of commission, so I don't want to stay too long on here. I just want to give you an example. How does that even calculate? Well, that's $26 a day. Let me just bring out my handy dandy calculator here in a second, just bringing it over. So that's 26 times 3 equals $78 out of the total of $90. So 90 minus 78, you would get $12. That's how that works. I'll bring it up. I'll slow it down. We'll be bringing that back and forth when we talk about commissions. There are other accessorials. You have miscellaneous. I want to select soon. You have other ones. Lumper fee, bobtail, dray. I should have put dray in my example. I'm gonna select dray. You saw me do that. I'm gonna select miscellaneous. This way I can confirm talking about them. I'm going to select miscellaneous no commission because I want to talk about what is miscellaneous no commission and when does that apply. Let's see if there's another one I want to select and talk about. The daily overweight. Well, that's the there's overweight fee right here. Yeah, okay, we can add overweight. And there's tolls, and there's terminal. I want to talk about terminal loan chassis with you guys. Actually, how does that work? All right, we're gonna talk about these main ones here, and I'll jump into questions as soon as I'm done selecting them. I already selected Dre. I wish I can see behind here what I already selected. I do want to select reefer charge or tolls, reefer fuel. That's what I wanted. So I have Dre, miscellaneous terminal to reefer fuel. Anything else I think I might add? I definitely can. I saw some people already like, yeah, Gabe, what about hazmat? What about triaxle? That's entirely fine. You won't see triaxle here. You do see hazmat. So I'll just go ahead and select hazmat, and that's definitely a way to bill for a hazmat move. Definitely not Oh, there is. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't always scroll down. Period. There is triaxle, and I might need your help with I don't know the normal triaxle billing. That's not one I'd use too much. So before I jump into here, let's thank you, Priscilla. Let's go ahead and answer some questions. I got one of the. I don't think everybody sees the questions. I know I do. Any panelist that joins us that I made a panelist, they see questions too. So let me just catch up with everyone and find our questions here. All right, Johnny. Blah blah blah. All right. An agent asked, "What do we do if the customer would like accessorials billed separately?" That's a good question. Um, I think I'm gonna approach that in two answers as long as I can clarify that. What do we do if the customer would like accessorials billed separately? So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that they don't want the accessorials billed with the line haul. They want it separate. Um, in these cases, there's two things you can do. Now, I kind of really want to confirm this with collections and the collector of the account, as long as they're aware of this. This is what I have seen, especially with detention. Detention might be 2 weeks later, and they want it, and you get approved 2 weeks later. So how do we bill it separately? This is the first thing I'm going to do because this is what collections tells me. They tell me they say email collections department at evansdelivery.com. It's going to go to the collector of that account and say, hey, I need this accessorial added on to this order, but separate, billed separate, and they can create a bill and bill is separate if that's the requirement. That's all in the back end. In the front end, I'm going to say this: in the front end, you can duplicate an order. You can see I'm scrolling up. You can duplicate an order and make a copy of what you have, but obviously you wouldn't have the line haul there. And if I understand correctly, you can bill just for an accessorial, hands down. What I would suggest and encourage to you is confirm you can do that with the collector of the account, because, and I would just go to collections department if you don't know who the collector of the account is. The reason why is because they may already be doing that with other agencies, and or it may already be documented with that customer that this is what they want and how they want it. So I don't want to say Gabe told me to do it this way. What I want you to do is go to them and they will tell you, oh, this is how you should do it. Then, if they're not sure, then we'll talk about it. But I want to make sure we're all communicating and the collector of that account knows what you're doing, knows what the customer is expecting, and they know how to give it to that customer. Period. So I hope that helps answer that question and kind of gave you two scenarios there. Um, I also have, so when we close out, should we close out with all and have the back end separate as an A or B bill? That's a back end thing. They do send out different bill types, an A bill or B bill. It's hard for me to answer that because I'm not in that everyday department. It's different scenarios with back end chassis. It's totally different. It's a B bill, I believe. It's an additional addendum invoice on connected to it. So in regards to chassis, that is all back end. In regards to additional accessorials such as detention or stop offs at a later time, it's good practice to make sure and confirm with the collections department how they want you to enter it in. Normally, they'll just say email me and I'll take care of it. And I don't mean me as in Gabe. I mean me as the collector of that account. And they'll go from there. Or you can create a duplicate and just bill for accessorials. My whole point being is that if you just bill for an accessorial without notifying the collector of that account, it can be a potential discrepancy down the road because not everybody knows what's going on. When you close out a load, when you bill out a load, just close it out and send it to us what you can and how you need to do it. If that doesn't answer your question, please feel free to contact me because I know a lot of the back end paperwork that's on our end, not from the agent. But like I said, if it was chassis, like I know that's back end. If it's this and that, it's different scenarios. Okay. And I know we might be getting some more questions. Thank you for anybody involved in all that. It's all good. Go ahead, send them away. We are at 2:30. I got to jump into the next main course here. Bear with me here. Let me just bring it up. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, wait. I can hit this button here and slowly get there. We did just talk about the appetizer. I want to jump in overweight citation. We're going to jump into that miscellaneous line items and all about the chassis. We're going to like kill two birds with one stone here because we're going to include that in our conversation with commissions before and after and how brokerage commission works and the do's and the don'ts. We're going to put this all together. So let me get back to that. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. As you can see, I selected a few. Okay. Daily chassis charge, same up here. If you wanted to put in the actual chassis here, you can do it here as well. So I would say 3 days at a rate of $30. And I tab out of there and it automatically calculates the total. Some people were doing this for $30, and that's fine and dandy, but eventually you need to put in how many days. They do that already in preparation, especially in templates. Excuse me. Especially in templates and stuff like that. That's fine, but at the end of the day, you got to put the rates in here. It goes this way: the quantity in here, the rates in here. People have been entering the rate in here and the quantity in here, and it still comes out to the same total. Yes, but that's not how it goes. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put how many days here for the total amount. It's part of the do's and don'ts, right? You can build a customer for it. We talked about how the commission works specifically for that one. I should probably bring my calculator back because we know I'm going to use it. Dre. Well, what can Dre be used for? I like to look at Dre as being some part of the line haul, just like a truck move. Example. Now let me just retype it here. Pre-pool, right? Pre-pool, yard pool. There's just so many things. People, what's the other word they call it? Not just pre-pool, but something else. I think it ends with pool too. It's all good. But you get the idea for the intermodal folks listening to us. You know, the guy, he or she pulled the box out of the port or the rail yard, and they pre-pulled it. It's $50, $75. So I can come in here at a rate. Well, it would be just one, and $50 there if they just pre-pulled it and pay that driver for the pre-pull, just like that. Obviously, this let's say this is the road guy, 468.75, and they receive 75. Oops, $75. Let me fix it here. There we go. Generally, that's how pre-pool can potentially work. On average, it's the same as the commission behind the scene is the same as the line haul, and that's how pre-pool can potentially work. Okay, I want to talk about, before I continue, I want to talk about how there are different commission rates behind the scenes. Before I continue, I want to talk about how there are different commission rates behind the scenes. And you may not want everybody in the office to know who are commission rates. So the best practice is one, at least have somebody know what the commission rates is, right? If you don't want everybody else to know, then create templates and tell them which one to use. Templates are great tools to avoid billing discrepancies because you know which one you used in the previous, or you already have it set up correctly. All right, I know questions are coming in. We'll get back to questions after commission and stuff like that. It's all good. And that's how this works. So what I want to point out, I got it up here. I actually made a rate commission calculator for an agent because he requested to say, Gabe, I just want to be able to put in the how much to bill, and then I want to know what my potential commission is, and then his total commission and all that. But what I want to point out, bear with me here so I can get it all together. Here's your line haul. Your line haul, you're expecting to get 85%. Net stop loss 90%. This is just an example. I don't know what net you're getting. This is just an example. Overtime 90%, lumper fee 95%, etc. Tolls 95%. It's rare for anything to be at 100%. At the end of the day, this is a business. Um, but these rates matter. You see, this miscellaneous is at 90%. Um, I hope you can see the my mouse. I can't. Well, I guess I could. Miscellaneous says 90%. So I come over here to miscellaneous. It's 90%. All right. My Dre is at 85%, which is normal with the freight revenue. And I go over here. That means my Dre was at 85%. All right. I didn't add miscellaneous no commission here, but let's talk about that, ladies and gentlemen. Miscellaneous, no commission means you're not getting commission. The terminal is not getting commission. It does not mean corporate is not getting commission. I will reiterate that. Miscellaneous no commission means the terminal doesn't get commission, only corporate does. Corporate gets the remainder, or it's like an even out. Like if you bill $400 and you pay the driver $400, nobody gets anything, right? Except for the driver, right? Why would miscellaneous no commission even be used? Miscellaneous no commission would be used in the case of Evans Delivery paying the bill, so they expect 100% in return. And that's probably not the best way to put it out, right? Like how to, but let's just say there's time in overweight instances. In overweight instances, we prefer to pay the bill because it's our DOT, FC number, and things like that. In the case that can happen, we prefer to pay the bill. We get billed for overweight citations. So what we're looking is for you to bill the customer, and we pay it, and that's that, right? So you don't lose anything like that, etc. Now, I'll get back into what if the driver pays overweight, or what if the agency pays overweight, like with their own credit card, and we'll talk about that. But right now, I'm focusing on an example of using miscellaneous no commission, and that's what that is. Back to the rate calculator. I saw some people want that, and that's good. I can send it to you, but you got to change it around for your numbers. And there's more I want to add to this thing. Terminal loan chassis, 95%. Gabe, why isn't it 100%? There are service fees corporate takes on. Corporate takes on the risk and collecting the money. They have to, there's manpower, lady power for the collectors to work per hour to get the money. So there's charge in that. That's the 5% service fee or administrative fee, however you want to look at it. But there's still a risk that corporate takes. They still have to get that. They still have to pay Mary Ann or somebody to get that. George, I'm just picking names here, etc. And my whole point being, and I can't highlight both screens, my whole point being the most important part about your billing keywords is what's the percentage behind the scene. Pause. The most important part about your billing keyword is what's the percentage behind the scene. And you can clearly see how it works. I'm going to bring up this. This was an example I used for an agency, but this is going to help me straight up front talk about how commission works. All right? So let's say I'll focus on freight revenue, and I'll just delete this, and I'll delete this just so everybody knows what we're seeing. So my freight revenue, I billed the customer $1,000. 1, 2, 3, a tab out of there. But I pay my tractor. The thing about this rate calculator, why it's good right now, it's only by percentage, but I want to also have a column in there for you to enter in a flat or per mile. So there's all that later on. But anyways, let's say I pay my driver 75%. I tab out of there. That means my driver gets $750, and the remainder commission is $100. That's how that works. And it automatically calculates up there. I'll even bring out the calculator to show you how that was concluded. Well, $1,000 times 0.85 equals $850. I paid $750 to the driver minus $750 now equals $100. There's my commission, right? So what about fuel? Fuel's something that we tend to do. Fuel, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you. All right, so what's 20%? So $200 of fuel, and the driver received 100% of fuel, so he got $200. It didn't even change anything over here. I'm gonna use something else, one more as an example. Stop offs. I build stop offs for however much I build it. I'm just going to use a random number of $150, and I paid my driver. This is where I was like percentage, blah blah blah. Let's say I paid my driver 25%, so he got 37.50, and my total was 97.50. And I'm just breaking down what this rate calculator does. I go down here, it shows me the total amount billed, the total driver pay, and my total commission just for that particular line item. In this case, this agent was also a broker, so I kind of showed them what brokerage commission would be, and it calculates how it works. I'm not here to sell this rate calculator. I'm still working on it, but that's that. And that helped me identify how commission rates work right up front to you. So that gives me an example over here. Let's say I use miscellaneous that is set to 90% for whatever miscellaneous can be. As an example, you can rename the charge. I know my naming convention isn't very creative here. Obviously, you would rename this to something more appropriate, but I want to show you you have the ability to retype and rename the charge. And let's say it was something at a rate of $2 for $100. Now it's a total of $200, and I paid my driver $200 for it. Bam, I paid him 100%. Well, guess what? This is going to be negative commission. Why is it going to be negative commission? And I did that on purpose. The reason why, if you look at my commission schedule, miscellaneous is only set to 90%. So, if I'm only expecting to get 90%, and how much it was, $200, and I paid my driver 100%, right? Bam. Then I'm negative $20 because I did not have 90% to give, and it automatically identifies that. That's the important part about the right billing keyword to get. If you want to use something more appropriate, most likely that line item is not set to 100%, so you can't technically pay your driver that, or unless you're expecting a hit. If you even knew, that's the important about communication with people billing, making sure they use the right line item, the right billing keyword. I keep saying line item, but I mean billing keyword. And we'll catch up with questions. So in this case, to solve that, then you would want to pay 90% of 200 to your driver. So if I go in here 90%, the driver gets 180, and then it just falls even. See how that worked? Yep, that's how that worked. I know a lot of questions are, okay, what the heck is this? But that's the example I just gave you, and that's what we're sticking to. So that's how that works, and that's what's important. And we talked about miscellaneous no commission. That is the terminal not receiving commission for that in particular line item, billing keyword, such as an overweight. I'm gonna corp citation. So I'm just gonna hate citation that corporate pays. We get billed for that. See, citation, and you shouldn't be expecting a commission here. So at a rate of 1, and I'm just gonna use $150 here, and bam, corporate gets all that. That's what miscellaneous no commission means. If you've been using miscellaneous no commission, expecting full commission and not Evans, you have been doing it wrong, and we need to talk about it. Okay? That's what's important about the billing keyword. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. All right? I'm gonna keep going. I know questions are going. We got a couple more here examples. Terminal owned chassis. If you own your own chassis. Okay, if you own your own chassis, um, you bill for it, right? Period. At a day of 2 days. Well, let's say 3 days. Usually, people have 2 days just by default. 3 days at $35, right? In a perfect world, $105. That's all you terminal loan chassis you're expecting to get. But just remember, terminal chassis still probably isn't 100%, because at the end of the day, it's a business, and we still have to collect that money. We still have to pay people in the office to get that, things like that, and I'm just gonna leave that there. Um, if it was a driver who owned his or her chassis, the owner operator, whatever, the owner of the tractor, in that case, you can use terminal loan chassis bill and pay the driver for it. But if you pay $105, you're going to go into negative commission. So you would want to pay just 95% of that, to avoid going into negative commission. And tell the driver, well, we have to collect. We're getting risk. We have to collect. You're still getting paid, but we have to get da da da. Uh, that's how that can work. All right. All right. Reefer fuel. Reefer fuel tends to be at 100%, but reefer fuel should only be used for just that, 100%. If there's some kind of line item that you're selecting that is at 100% and you are renaming it and getting 100% of it, that can be a potential cause for concern, especially if it's in the big money. So I just wanted to point out, I'm not here to, you know, I just wanted to point out that, reefer fuel is normally used just for that, reefer fuel, or something you're expecting at 100% in return. But even that's rare, just rare. And how reefer fuel, oh, well, we had to keep it refrigerated for yay days, or how much reefer fuel is, and this is the flat amount for that long. And that's how that works. Um, I know I got to scroll up. I know you wanted me, Priscilla, to talk about hazmat. So I put hazmat in here, but I'm just going to keep it as a flat rate. You're hauling hazmat load. You just put that flat rate money in there and bill for it that way. And just remember what the commission rate is behind the scenes. I can't stress that out enough. Now, I know you helped answer me on triaxle. You said, it was $75 a day. So, for 2 days, that's $75 a day. That's how you enter it in. Now, that probably doesn't answer your question, but if you say, Gabe, how do we bill for triaxle? That's exactly how you would bill. If you don't know how many days, leave it blank until you go in there and then bill for it. If you leave it blank like this, it won't actually bill. I think it'll even tell you, say, hey, you need a quantity in this field. So that's helpful in the sense of avoiding not billing for something you should have billed for. True story. In this case, I'll just say 2 days. All right. I'm going to slowly jump in to answering some questions. So bear with me here. This is like a small screen just to answer his questions. I got my glasses on. I also want to just go back and reiterate back to my objective 3. I did include some do's and don'ts, so that's not too bad. Let me catch up with my questions. All right, we have one question here. How about if the customer would like the truck to come back to, say, the receiver after the driver was out, maybe 50 miles? Priscilla, in this case, I really want to unmute you so you can further explain that question. How about if the customer would like the truck to come back? Okay, to the receiver. Okay, after the driver was out, maybe 50 miles. I need to charge them a fee, then pay the driver. This is going to be the universal answer. I'm going to give you the universal answer because there was a time here in discussion I talked about, there's just too many scenarios to put into one line item, like one place. So here is the universal answer. Refer back to your commission schedule. Your agreed upon commissions. I wish I could just zoom in on the left here. Refer back to that. Bill them for the one you think is appropriate. Because I can't, do every single. What I would do with you, if we were talking about Gabe, it's a return where we bring in the truck back and the driver was already 50 miles out. How do I even do that? First of all, I don't even know what you call that. You figure that part out, and I'm sure that's what y'all do every day. So you can name that. What's important, the focus is on which percentage. Which percentage? If you want to figure out, well, Gabe, I want to do the 100% one for every single one, and then we'll laugh about it and we'll joke about it, and hopefully it's over a glass of whiskey, and then we get straight back to business. And we say, okay, we want to select this one for those type of moves. I think it might be Dre, but I don't know. We want to discuss which one's the right one. And what I want to focus on is that you understand commission. It's not which word to use. It's which percentage to use. I will repeat that. It's not which word to use. It's which percentage to use. Okay, and that's where people here, and Mike Rodnick, who rocks the mic, and Cooper Ravage and stuff like that, we will be, go back to the basic, go back to the agent commission. What are you expecting? If you don't even know what your commission schedule is anymore, please give us a call. We can share it with you, or Onboarding can share it with you too. If we don't have it, we'll go to Onboarding. They have the one you signed. If you need to add any more here, or want to see, I only have a few examples here. I don't even have all of them. And want to see something more specific or added on, you would want to talk to your recruiter or Onboarding and negotiate what percentage rate you're expecting. All right, back to the next question. Should I use Dre? Yeah. I thought you said you use Dre. Yeah. How do you pay a driver for all of the Dre charge if you're only allotted 85%? That's a very good question. Maybe you shouldn't use Dre in that scenario if you're looking to pay the driver all of it. But you got to understand that not a single one of these. Can I highlight them? Not a single one of these. I can't highlight them all. Not a single one is at 100%. Not a single one. So paying out the driver 100% to the driver, you may be losing in on something. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to use Reaver Fuel. That's at 100%, and then rename it to something and then pay the driver on it. That's don't do that. Just respectfully, you don't want to do that. We've been trying to let agents know, like, hey, we don't want that. At the end of the day, things shouldn't be at 100%. It's a business. There we go. Let me scroll down a little bit here. Okay. All right. Yep. EHA. I will share the calculator with you. I'll even I'll customize it for you. All right. Please send our rates to us. Okay. Let me write that down. I will send your rate. I'm going to send it to the agent on file. Period. Makes sense. And then you can ask them. I don't know. I have to look at everything because you're not the only one who asked for the rates. I will send any rates to the agent on file. Period. That's it. Then you can ask them for it, just to be safe. Obviously, some agents don't want other people to have that. What about using driver unloading? You could use driver unloading for which specific scenario? Since I'm only catching up with emails, I can be reading an intertwine of questions here. Let me jump a little bit forward, because this brings us right into part 3, and we're at 253. So this is good. What is commission percentage for reefer fuel? Erica, on average, commission percentage for reefer fuel is 100% on average. It might be 95%. To you, I don't even know what the average is. Let me be honest. I'm not sitting here bringing them all up and then calculating the average. I don't really know. It could be 100% to 95%. uh, send me your agent code, and I can let you know, and I can let the agent on file know. I'll send the whole rate thing to you, and then you can know what the commission percentage is. I will send it to the agent on file. Uh, I know. So, Lauren, I know you asked, is that what we should use for a swing charge then? But unfortunately, I don't know which part of the webinar you asked that question. Um, uh, Shoot me an email on the side. I think that what you might have been asking for is when I was talking about the driver coming back because they were 50 miles out, and that's entirely fine. Yes, you could use that. That's a truck move, and they're coming back. And I would retitle that as swing charge if I understand you correctly. There's just so many different names for different line items, but that might have been helpful to answer your question. Um, Iris, can I please go back to the hazmat item? Hazmat item. Which line item do we use for dry runs and redelivery fees, as well as which line item we would use for reefer fee? So this is where I'm going to tell you to go back to your agent commission rate and which one is appropriate. This is a universal answer. Which one is appropriate to set commission percentage, right? If you're not sure, you need to talk to your terminal manager. They know how they have the commission percentage already. And all right, this one's at 90%, this one's at 95%, whichever one you're expecting to use. Miscellaneous is popular for those off the wall, off the side ones. And we're not going to sit here and audit like every single one. Did you use the right one? Did you? Miscellaneous is one for those off the wall, is an answer for those off to the side billing charges, additional charges, the every now and then. Miscellaneous is helpful for the now and then. If it's something all the time, then we want to address which one we should be using at all the time. Iris, I hope that helps answer your question. Um, I imagine for drive runs, you would be using the Dre as well. I don't want to tell you any incorrect answers. So that's why, if you want to be more specific, email me. And I hope that everybody understands that it comes down to it's not which line item to use, it's which commission percentage to use. Definitely. I'm almost caught up here with the questions. Okay. Maybe I didn't answer your question, Lauren, about the swing charge part. But I know that by now you have to understand what miscellaneous no commission actually means and where it might be in case what you're looking to use and any other line item for that matter. All right. LNJ, okay. Wait. Lauren, thank you for explaining. We're at 256. Thanks for explaining what the swing charge is, which is a swing slash flip at the rail. We have to email corporate to have them pay the rail to get to the box swung onto a different chassis. So I'm asking if that we bill them under miscellaneous. That is correct. You do it. I'm going to tell you exactly why. You already answered it. You have to email corporate to have them pay the rail to get the box swung. Yes. In that case, miscellaneous, no commission. If that's not the case, then we should ask the chassis team at evansdelivery.com. But whenever corporate pays it, and you need to bill for it, the corporate already paid it, so you would bill it for miscellaneous, no commission. Hands down, that's it. Yep. And I think I caught up. Okay. Yep. So let's jump into the next one. Bear with me here. I just got to get all the last one here, the check. So jump into that slideshow. All right. Here's the check. At the end of the day, we're getting a check, and we want to discuss how to avoid billing discrepancies and more. I don't always check the check, let me tell you. But you want to run those reports and check that check. You want to catch those flies. I don't like flies in my food. And I want to talk about where you can find pay types and deduction codes. There's times where we don't know why we were deducted, or in you know, or what we were paid for. What does this even mean? And on the driver settlement or the agent settlement. So I want to talk about that. I'll bring that up. And I can't even click on that screen. And I just wanted to do a follow up with checking um, keywords. You want to run reports. Look at reports with missing paperwork. Make sure you get those in and out tickets and lumper receipts. Make sure the matching rate confirmations. Make sure you match the rate confirmation with the rate charges. I totally can't type. I think that's supposed to be charges or changes. If there's any rate changes, make sure you bill for that. Any accessorial approvals need to be in there. Detention, swing charge, etc. You want to have any accessorial approvals in there. Um, Per diem and chassis approvals as well. Get that paperwork in there. That, as you can see, that I'm really just trying to reiterate that from the last couple webinars. But let's take a look at agent commission reports, and then pay types. So I'm going to go into an actual existing agency that's a company store where I can actually show you the commission. Hopefully, right? I'm just going to run preliminary commission here. So under reports, if you're a terminal manager or a billing manager or just billing in general and you have access to the commission reports, you need to go into reports, period. Give me a call. We'll spend 10 minutes, the best ones to help. But in this example, I'm going to go to agent commission report. The reason why is because that helps you catch flies. That helps you catch any fat-fingered mistypes. That helps you catch other stuff. You see me here go a little faster. I'm just going to hit search. You want to look for any negatives, anything that was billed under the wrong keyword. They are all here. Let me zoom in. I zoomed in a lot. Here is the daily chassis. Here is FRT is the freight. I would hope to find some more here. Let me scroll down here. Well, we're just getting off freight and daily chassis charges in this example. And there we go. We could find them. Is it negative? Is there something? What something doesn't belong? All right. You can find out which one was billed for under here. It only tells you which pay type you use. It does not tell you what you renamed it to up front. Not here. You would have to bring the order up front. Also on the preliminary, give me a second here. I want to scroll up to the dashboard. You want to look at this. What's the total revenue that was billed? What's the average commission per load? But better yet, and unfortunately, this is only daily chassis charge in here, but this would be all the accessorials that were billed. And if I run in here, I'm like, why are we billing for this? We should be, this is only at 85% net, where we should be at least getting 90%. So maybe I can catch it here and make corrections moving forward. You can even make corrections now since this is preliminary, but how many orders did you do that to is a different story. So that's the report. I wanted to talk about pay types, and I already had the agent guidebook up somewhere, and I feel like it took it away from me. So I'll bring the agent guidebook back up. Is this it? No, that's not it. It took it away from me. All right. Training, agent guidebook, and we're at 3. I apologize for going a little bit over, but all I want to do is jump into the agent guidebook, and right here, chapter 5, currently chapter 5, settlement codes. Click on that. And it talks about settlement codes. I can click on this, and it'll jump me right to it. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. And here's the pay type. I know it says code, same thing, pay type code. Right here, so you have, what is this? Bob, B-O-B. This is bobtail. This is a payment. There's payments that you receive, and there's deductions. So if I come in here and I find, I'm trying to look for an average, CH, chassis deduction. That's what CH meant if you see that on your settlement. Okay? Oh, chassis payment. That's CC. So you received the money in that case as an agent. Notice how it says Evans agents. So all pay types associated with your settlement can be found in the guidebook to help you understand the billing keyword that was used. And don't forget, if you compare that to your commission schedule, you'll understand eventually, right, how it all came to the conclusion it was, whether it's deducted or added, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to obviously go through every single one of these. I just want you to know that they're there. They tell you. Evans agent is all about the agent settlement. Here's daily chassis charge. Here's a payment right there. DCC, that's the one I was able to show you earlier. So it's there. If I keep scrolling, it turns from Evans agents to the drivers. It's the next page right here. Call me a liar. Next page. Right here. Here's the split. Now it starts talking about drivers. So if your driver calls in, has it, what the heck is this? What is this? Why am I being deducted? What's AC? Well, that's an accident claim deduction. Why am I being? What's AD? That's a money code advance. I think nowadays it's EFS. So you see AE. That's a deduction. I got paid. AF. Everybody should know this by now. That's freight charge. So that's what this is right here. This is why I want to talk about settlement and deduction codes, etc., to help everybody understand what they are. There we go. That is the webinar, ladies and gentlemen. We spent a lot of time there. We asked some questions. What I want to mention is I encourage you to please give me, send me an email, send credit department, training department at evansdelivery.com an email, and we will be more than happy to help answer any of your specific scenario questions. I don't want to take much time from everyone else, and I'll keep the line open for the next couple minutes. I will be recording. This is being recorded, hopefully, right? And I will be sharing it online for other people as well who could not make it. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I hope I answered your question. If I haven't, sent it to me. I'll talk to you later. Enjoy the rest of your day.